Hey, what's going on everyone? It's been a hot minute since I've uploaded my last video. I just checked and it has been over 6 months, which is crazy to think. So quickly in this video, am going to be covering some questions that people have been leaving on my last YouTube videos. So this will be very similar to the previous kind of question and answer video that I've made. So just for example, some of the questions people have been asking is where have the updates been, hiring editors, what do editors do, how long does it take you to find topics and so on. And before I get stuck into that, I'm just going to go back to the beginning and just get some housekeeping out of the way. So I have just created a new Twitter account, which is twitter.com/growthscouter. And I'll also leave a link down below as well. So I haven't posted anything on that Twitter account yet, but I do plan on just, just sharing things that I've found that are interesting, maybe updates on things that I'm doing and things like that. And also I am traveling to Canggu and Bali pretty much for all of April and half of May. So if you are in the Canggu area, please send me a DM as it would be really awesome to connect with other kind of digital nomad marketers, SEO people, as I do know there are quite a few over there. So yeah, please DM me and we can maybe meet up while I'm over there. So kicking off with the first question in this video, and it is from the Wealth List, and they're saying, hi, will there be any further updates? I've found your videos very interesting and inspirational. So thanks for that, and I'm glad you have got some value from the video. So as for the updates, unfortunately, I do not plan on sharing any other kind of traffic numbers or income for that particular site. I guess the main thing for me not doing that is because I'm not very comfortable with sharing the numbers and the revenue for this site. The site still is doing really well. It's kind of growing far beyond what I expected. So yeah, I'm just a little bit uncomfortable sharing those numbers. But on the flip side of the coin, I am happy kind of sharing the tactics and things that I do to grow the sites. But I will not be sharing those particular details. So if you are here for an update, then unfortunately you are out of luck. But please do stick around, as I will kind of be sharing other informational kind of things on this channel and also in this video as well. So moving on to the next question. Great channel, where do you get the topics you write on? Finding 2,000 topics is not easy. So I actually have had this question quite a few times, and they're just pretty much asking like, how do you find, thousands of topics? And I guess the thing is that I'm not researching 2,000 topics to write all of the blog posts on. That's 2,000 topics over a year, which still is a lot of content. But when you break it down by like a week by week basis, I'm not sure what that is on the top of my head. I'm pretty bad at math. But that's maybe what, I don't know, 100 a week? No, 50 a week, even less. So that's 50 topics you have to find per week. So that's about 10 per day. So when you kind of spread it over a year or 2 years, you don't have to find 2,000 or 1,000 topics, in a week or a month. You can kind of spread it out over, quite a long period of time. Now, as for where I get the topics I write on, I pretty much follow the exact same methods that, other people are doing. So that's going into Ahrefs, looking at the questions for particular topics, looking at competitors, seeing what they're doing, and also digging into the actual SERPs and seeing what people are searching for. I'd say maybe 80% of my keywords are found just by Googling questions and using keywords everywhere. And then once I find that, then I'll kind of go down a rabbit hole of, that question, see if there's any other long tail variations for that one. And then I'll keep just repeating this process. And another thing I have been doing throughout the last month is actually revisiting my old topic clusters at the beginning of this site. Because when I was first starting in this niche, I didn't have a really deep understanding. It was pretty surface level. But as the year has gone on, I really kind of know those nooks and crannies, so I can go back to those original topics and flush out other things that I might have missed in the beginning. And I'm really glad I did, as I've uncovered hundreds of other topics that I actually did miss in my initial keyword research for those kind of topic clusters. So if you are having a bit of trouble finding keywords, maybe you have like an established site, then I do recommend you to go back to those older topics and kind of dig deep into those and see if you can uncover any additional questions. So moving on to the next question, and this is: how much time does it take you to find one new keyword? Do you also give your writers the subheadings and keywords, or just the title? So I guess this is kind of similar to the previous one. So how much time does it take you to find one new keyword? So on average, I'd say I can do a batch of 10 topics in an hour. So if a writer hits me up on Slack and they say, hey, I've done my batch, can you please review it? That pretty much triggers me to look at the content, and then from there onwards, I spend around I'd say an hour on average finding 10 topics for them to write for the next week. So since my writers do mainly 10,000 word batches, that's around 10 topics for them. So I'd say I can find around 10 topics in an hour, which is around 7 to 10 minutes per one. And as for whether or not I do subheadings or any particular keywords, this is something that I actually do not include at all. And I feel like if I was to include this, that would blow out me kind of making the batch to 2-3 hours, including all of the subtopics, doing individual briefs on each particular topic. It would just take me way too long with the amount of content I am publishing. And I kind of combat this by giving the writers the SOP when they first are onboarded into the writing team. And I pretty much spend, a couple of hours when hiring them to teach them the process that I use on how to find the subheadings for a particular article. And I also put a lot of attention for them to kind of understand the intent of the searcher. Because say, for example, I was doing a post on can cats eat chocolate? Maybe someone's wondering if they can give cat to their chocolate. And also someone might be wondering, oh my God, my cat's eaten chocolate. Are they allowed to eat it? And if not, what should I do next? So kind of understanding the subtleties of what to do in those situations and providing an alternative solution to the reader. So those are the things that I really kind of start immediately teaching the writers. Because if I can teach them those kind of two core things, then it saves me having to do it for them over and over again. So by teaching them, I'm pretty much removing a large portion of my work for creating individual briefs, subheadings, and keywords. And pretty much what I do is I just give them an article title. And if there is additional information that I would like them to cover, maybe it is a subheading that is a little bit tricky to find, or there's just some clarification that is needed for the search intent, then I will just add in some notes. But I'd say 95% of the time that isn't needed, and the other 5% I'll just add in a quick sentence just so they can start off in the right direction. So moving on to the next question, how many sites do you manage? So this is a pretty good question, and I actually do not know the exact number from the top of my head. I've got a few different hosting accounts. I don't even know how many domains. So I'd say in total, I maybe have around 20 websites currently hosted that are live. But I do not really manage those. Those are just kind of maybe projects I've given up on, projects that have failed. But I do continue to keep hosting them, because maybe 2 years down the track, I want to kind of revive something or go further down into that niche. I keep those sites live. So as for how many sites I actually manage and are currently working on, I've got my one big site. I've got two other sites that I'm building out at the moment as well. And then I also do have some older sites that are kind of ticking along. They do bring in some passive income. Their traffic isn't huge, but they kind of do run pretty passively in the background. And pretty much all I do is go in once a year, make sure everything's running smoothly, update all the themes, plugins, whatnot. So I guess you could say that is managing, but really it's just kind of like a once a year task that I do. But at the moment, I'm pretty much focusing 95% of my effort on this one site, and the other 5% is kind of distributed among those other passive sites and also the other two sites that I'm building out as well. So moving on to the next question. Great job. I have 3 questions if you don't mind answering them. Where do you hire editors? How much do you pay per editor? And how many articles per day or month can one editor upload without being burnt out? So thanks for the question. So for the first one you have, where do you hire editors? So with this process, I only kind of upgrade my writers to editors. I don't think I've actually ever hired an editor write out. I always upgrade or like promote my writers rather to become editors. And the main reason I do that is because they have a really good understanding of what I expect for my writers, kind of the Google snippet, the introduction, the subtopics, the conclusion, all of that kind of stuff. So I always promote my writers to editors, as they can be kind of really constructive to new writers. They really know what to look out for, as opposed to hiring an editor directly who doesn't have that kind of background experience on how exactly I like the posts to look. So this obviously is kind of a longer game for hiring editors. If you're looking to hire an editor straight away and you don't have an existing writing team, then I guess that still is an option. I guess the training will just be more kind of extensive in getting them up to par. So how much do I pay my editors? So at the moment, all of my editors are on a flat $20 hourly rate, which is in USD. And I think that's pretty like on par with, kind of entry-level editors out there. And the editors do seem to be really happy with that pay. So I was thinking about doing a kind of per article editing basis. But just with the nature of editing, sometimes a post only needs 10 minutes, sometimes it needs 30 or 40. So I don't want to restrict the editor to what they can do to the post. So out of my entire kind of team, the editors are the only people that are on hourly rates. And the next one is, how many articles per day or per month can one editor upload? So at the moment, I have 2 editors, and they are university students, so they're not exactly full-time. And based on their work, they can do around 30 hours per week. And during the week, they can do between 70 and 120 editing posts to be edited. But I'd say on average, it's towards the lower end, maybe around 70. But when they have time off, they can definitely do more. So that's around 12 to 15 per weekday. And as for how long it takes for each post to be edited, it only takes around 10 to 25 minutes per post. They really only need light edits. So over a month, they can do quite a few posts. So moving on to the next one, and this is actually quite a few questions from this one person. And this is actually a really, really good topic, and I could most likely make an entire video just around these kind of questions. So I'll just kind of go through these really quickly, kind of rapid fire. So his question is, something I miss in almost every single video about YouTube is the part regarding managing writers and a team of people. How exactly do you do it? What's the exact path that the article follows from its conception based on keyword research to its publishing? So this is a really, really awesome question, and this is something that really doesn't get covered much in SEO. And this is something that I personally have struggled with for quite some time, growing my team, making mistakes, figuring out the best method for myself. And there also isn't just much information out there for this. I'd say, if anything, like there's more information about this from actual like web publishing agencies and how they actually scale their team, as opposed to like bloggers. So yeah, anyway, I'll just go through these really, really quickly. So what tools do you use to organize your list of articles and keywords? So at the moment, all of my keywords are on Google Sheets, and they're all shared sheets with my writers. So as soon as I update a sheet, they can see it live in there. I can add notes, and I can just message them on Slack and let them know that their list has been updated. I have tried other tools in the past, but I think Google Sheets is just so simple. It's live and it's free. And the next one is, what application do you use to collaborate with your writers? I'm using Slack at the moment. I'm using the free version, and I'm able to communicate with around 20 to 25 people on there, and it works, seamlessly, no issues. Works on my laptop, my phone, and it syncs across all devices. So it's a really good solution for myself. And the next one, who adds the images and their alt text? So I actually have a virtual assistant, and one of their tasks is dedicated just for formatting. So they'll do the H2s, the H3s, the bolding, and they'll also find the images as well. So they'll upload the images and do the alt texts. So I try and kind of separate the tasks, because I don't really want my editors or my writers to be focusing on this job, because they're best at editing and writing. So I really want them to only do that, while my VA is really good at these types of tasks. So I do try and separate them throughout the production line. So the next one is, do you provide the article layout and heading? So I covered this in a previous question. So no, I don't cover any kind of subheadings or layouts. I just give the article title, and that's pretty much it. So do you have a team of writers only, or also some editors? So at the moment, I think I have 20 writers, 2 editors, and I'm hiring one at the moment, and I'm also onboarding a couple of new writers, and then I also do have a VA as well. So what exactly do your editors do? So as I mentioned previously, the editors pretty much just tidy up and kind of really go that extra mile to make the posts shine. And I definitely do follow the 80-20 rule for the editors. So I get them to pretty much focus on the big things, such as the introduction, because if I don't hook that person in within the first 2 paragraphs, they're going to go. So that kind of, I guess, subjectively is the most important part of the article, because if I can kind of convert them to keep reading, then my session time, my ad rates, and my traffic all grow from there onwards. So I get them to focus on the introduction and the Google snippet, because those things are going to bring me the most traffic. And then obviously they do check grammar, check the right subheadings have been selected, and check the accuracy of the content. So if anything kind of just seems out of place, they'll just check the link, make sure the reference is correct, or they'll just do a Google themselves and make sure that is correct as well. Because with the training of my writers, I really want them to kind of get everything right. And then with the editors, they can kind of just spruce it up and do that last kind of cherry on top. So how many revisions do you do per article? So at the moment, I'd say I pretty much do no revisions. When I first onboard writers, I'm pretty ruthless with the feedback. So for their first kind of 2 batches, there's smaller 5,000 word batches. Every article that they upload, I review it or the editor reviews it. So I try and get all of the training and mistakes done in those first 2 batches. So from there onwards, the writer is pretty much, they're pretty good to go with finding all of the relevant subtopics, the introduction, the Google snippet, all of that kind of stuff. So in rare cases, there will be revisions if the writer has just gone completely in the wrong direction. And if that's the case, I'll just get them to do a rewrite or a revision. But pretty much I try not to do any revisions. If a writer has made a small mistake, I'll just get the editor to fix it up, because if the editor has to talk to the writer has to fix it up, and then you kind of add an extra 2 to 3 days just to fix this one thing, as opposed to the editor just spending 20 minutes fixing it. So I'd say this is the more pricey option for getting content out the door, but I do find this just causes less friction, and you can just kind of just pump out the articles. So the next one is, how much time does it pass between the first submission and revision? So again, there really is no revisions, only in the odd case. So I guess that question doesn't really apply to me. So how exactly do you review the article? So once the writer has done their 10,000 words, they'll just ping me on Slack. All of the articles are uploaded into their Google Drive folder. So in there, I can just go and spot check maybe 3 to 5 articles, make sure they've done everything correctly. I do have a lot of trust in my writers, so I will only check a few articles, do quick spot checks, make sure they've kind of covered the topic in depth, and then I'll move it over to the editors folder. And if the editor does pick up on anything, they'll let me know, or the writer to know, and they'll just say, hey, for the next batch, can you please include these types of things because they were missed on this one. So the feedback is kind of always evolving, and that is why we do not have revisions typically. And how exactly do you train your writers? Videos, written guides, links. So I think when I first started training my writers, I wrote like a 5 to 10 word text doc, explaining all the different things. I took like screenshots of how it's meant to be and stuff like that. And I found the conversion rate of like writers actually reading through the document and doing the things correctly was just really, really low. So what I do now is I have, I think it's about 3 or 4 Loom video links of me just kind of doing the topic research, how I lay out the articles and that kind of stuff. So it's much, much easier for the writer to watch these really quick videos. They can watch it at 2x playback speed to save them a bit of time, and they also get a better understanding of what exactly I'm looking for, and they can just have that in the corner while actually doing the work as well. So that's pretty much how I train my writers, and Loom's a really great software. You can kind of just record, copy the link, and I also have this in a Google Doc as well. So if I do update a video, it updates across all of the SOPs as well. So that's pretty much that question done. So moving on with the next one, which is, have you noticed Google isn't as active with indexing as it used to be? So I'd have to say definitely yes. With my 2 new sites that I've been building, one of them has been severely struggling with Google indexing. This site was made in, I believe, late October last year, and at the moment there's around 300 and maybe 50 posts on that site, and at the moment only 149 have been indexed in Google, and that was even a struggle to get that far. Out of those 150, 100 were done through the Index Me Now tool, and even with using that tool, I find the accuracy isn't that good. So in the actual Google Search Console, it does show as indexed, but if I go and search for that topic, or I do a kind of a site search, that topic doesn't always show up. So it has been a bit of a struggle. Now, over the last 2 weeks, I have noticed that the clicks and the impressions are starting to grow. So it is still under 6 months old, so maybe I am getting a little bit impatient. But yes, from my experience with this new site that I'm building out, that Google is having a bit of trouble indexing, and I also have tried to do the manual indexing within Google Search Console as well, and that doesn't seem to move the needle either. Now, in saying that, I've done 0 link building to this site at all. I haven't done pretty much any social links, no haro, nothing like that. So I really haven't given it the kick that I usually do with my other websites within the first, 1 to 3 months. So maybe that is a kind of a reason why it is a little bit slow. But also with other bloggers out there that have been having issues with this, I'm pretty much not surprised. I think with just an onslaught of so much new traffic on Google, I think they are playing a bit of catch up with their server resources and getting on top of things. So moving on to the next question. Great video. Thanks for the detailed response of other viewers' questions. Just wondering if you were early on in your journey, would you use content agencies to get more content up quickly, or would you just start from the very beginning by hiring your own writers? Obviously, there is a great benefit to training your own writers, but it also costs time. In your opinion, is this a strategy suited to more advanced marketers, or would you pursue from the beginning? So I'm guessing this person is asking what I would do from the beginning of this site, or from my kind of journey from the very beginning. So if I was starting from the very beginning, I would pretty much write all of the content I possibly could within the first year, just to kind of get a grip on and get a handle on, how things should be structured, and really kind of get a good understanding of what things should look like. Now, if I was starting this site again, I would hire my writers privately. And from my experience with using agencies, I do find that the quality is so hit and miss, because if you give them a list of 100 topics, they might spread those 100 topics between 5 writers. Now, out of those 5 writers, 3 of them might be amazing and 2 of them might be really, really bad. So you're going to get a really, really mixed result. And you also, from my experience, it's a lot harder to stay on top of the quality control, and the feedback loop with agencies is also really, really slow from my experience. So yeah, if I was going to do it all over again, I would spend the time to try and find really good writers, train them up as well. And it also typically is cheaper when you do in-house hiring as well. So moving on to the next one. So one general question, how do you manage EAT? I mean, I can start blogging on fashion, but I'm not someone who is famous for known as fashion blogger in the real world. How do you manage all of these, as some experts are predicting that EAT will be vital for niches in 2022? So yeah, this is something that I definitely do keep at the front of my mind, and it is something that I am actively working towards, especially for my niche. So I guess for this example of fashion, this doesn't really fall into the YMYL kind of category. So I guess, EAT isn't really that important in this particular category, because if you're doing, a topic on what goes with blue jeans, there isn't kind of a definite black and white answer for this. There's a lot of kind of in between, it's all to personal taste. So, you could be an expert on blue jeans. You might have worn blue jeans your whole life, so that kind of does give you the expertise and authority for that particular subject. But I find that for these particular types of things, it's not too important. But on the flip side of the coin, it is something that I always do include for my larger sites. So I just follow the best practices of what Google is asking for. So I'll do an author box, I'll do a nice photo, do a description of their qualifications, and if they don't have anything, I'll just say, this writer has been blogging about fashion for XYZ years, or if they don't have any experience whatsoever, you can kind of just make it up on the fly. You can say, I've been into fashion personally for 10 years, I've been following X, Y, and Z fashion designers, and I love these brands, because I don't think you really need a degree in fashion to talk about fashion, but I definitely would actively work towards kind of building a profile for yourself around fashion. And, just do the best practices, have a really good about page, a good author page, and, link to your LinkedIn profile, Twitter profile, Facebook, all of that kind of stuff. And you can also kind of just mix it around with those profiles as well and angle it towards fashion or whatever niche you're in. So that's pretty much how I tackle EAT. And you can also do like guest posts if you want to kind of get your name out there as well. But that's something that I don't personally do either. So moving on to the last thing, and this thing is a little bit strange. I'm not sure if I'm the only one. But I finally retired my absolute workhorse of a laptop. So this was a 2014 MacBook Pro that I got for $2,000 back then. And even then, like, that was still a lot of money back then, and it is a lot of money now. But I have to say that this is like one of the most amazing machines that I've ever used. This laptop single-handedly allowed me to pretty much build my business to where it is today. And I looked just before, like, I closed the lid for the last time, and I think it had 1,200 cycles. So the battery was pretty much cooked towards the end. Like, I couldn't use the laptop without it being plugged into a power source. But yeah, let me know if like you have a connection to like your laptop or, a piece of technology that you've worked with for so long. I think it's just incredible that one machine like this can allow you to pretty much start a business from wherever you are in the world. Now, obviously it doesn't have to be a MacBook Pro. It could be, a Chromebook, Windows PC, whatever it is. But it's just incredible that, the devices that we have nowadays connect to the internet. You can get WordPress hosting, $150 in a domain name, and it's pretty much up to you on like how far you can take it. So yeah, I was a bit sentimental with kind of letting this laptop go. It was an absolute beast, and even like till I was using it a month ago, like it still worked really well. And if I was pushing it, I reckon I could use this for another 5 years, no worries. But now I have upgraded to the new MacBook Pro, and I'm absolutely loving it with the new M1 chip. The battery life is amazing. So I hope I can use this laptop for another 8 years. So anyway, guys, I thought I would just throw that out there as a kind of last thing. But let me know in the comments if you have a connection to like a piece of tech that you're using. And also, guys, please share any kind of other things that you'd like me to cover for this channel. I know I'm not going to be doing any more updates of the site, but I do plan on making more content. This was kind of like a lockdown project for me, but since lockdown has finished, I've kind of just been, going on with my life. But I really do want to pay more attention to this channel, as it has allowed me to connect with heaps of bloggers out there that I otherwise wouldn't be able to. So I'm really grateful for the kind of community that I have been able to connect with. So yeah, guys, hopefully this video did provide some value. And if you did like it, please hit the subscribe and like button. And also don't forget to check out my Twitter and follow me there. So as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next one.